digital night. Shadows flicker, echoes fight. Neon dreams and pixel dust. Through the code, relentless thrust. Streaming worlds in constant flux. Electric veins, chaotic rush. A restless voice, the scanning cracks. Solitude with neon tracks. Shadows only streaming the light. Through the chaos, endless fight. In the glow of a midnight screen. Seeking truth in the unseen. Wires in reality torn. There's heartbeats in the digital storm. Faces flicker, fading gleam. Caught within a cyber dream. In the silence of the light. Searching through the endless night. Restless scream against the void. Hope and fear become alloyed. Shadows only streaming the light. Through the chaos, endless fight. In the glow of a midnight screen. Seeking truth in the unseen.
Oh, hi. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode. Here we are once again. Hope everybody's well. People watching this VOD, people that may be coming in, Digi, hopefully you've been well, sir. A couple things to go over this evening, I guess. Kind of just lay it out for the VOD, sake of the VOD, I guess. People that watch these VODs still. Oblivion remaster confirmed, images leaked. Harvest Dawn in the background. Very excited. 4chan hacked, data dumped. I'll go over that a little bit. There's actually quite a few things I was going to go over, but I just put debunking the Atlantis memers. There's a video that somebody put out that's been making the rounds, and I'll see if I can listen to it. Hopefully it's actual like quality pushback, although I can tell by the title it's already not, because they're referring to Graham Hancock as a pseudo-archaeologist, so it's usually a red flag that you're dealing with a dingus. Anyway, yeah. Let's just get into it. Why not? Why the fuck not? Let me pull this up here. Oh my heavens. Oh my God. How many people in here right now might be talking about this again, but I'm just gonna turn this Harvest On down slightly here. Man, is this ever exciting. Now, the second this came out, I was actually on Twitter looking for stuff to talk about tonight. And I thought maybe we're looking at like AI art. But I guess actually, this was pulled off of the website of the company who was hired to remaster it. So, think this is real. And here's the other kicker. It's going to be released next week. I cannot describe the excitement. Hendrix, welcome. I don't play a lot of games, but I do love a couple series. I love Monster Hunter. I used to love World of Warcraft. And I love the Elder Scrolls. And the Elder Scrolls is a series and I put the most time into. So Oblivion, one of those games. I mean, it's, oh God. It's been a long time since I've actually really played through it too. Like a long time. I never really replayed it a lot. I usually replayed Skyrim. So welcome everybody. Bone, Shadows, vibes, man. This is good vibes. So here's some of the rundown, I guess. There was another leak. There was somebody in one of these communities, a content creator, who actually heard this directly from somebody that works for the company, I guess, just yesterday. And that's when they confirmed the timeline that it's going to be dropping next week. They're essentially just going to drop it and release it in the same day. And there may be a deluxe edition, which some people are already pissed off about. But anyway, here's some of the changes, and then I'll go through some of the images, because this is, oh man, this is... I don't talk about games a lot on here, but like this is one of those games that I'm going to be playing this on here, probably when it drops. Blocking inspired by Souls-like games. Sneak icons now highlighted. Stamina system modified. HUD changed. Hit reactions added. Archery overhauled. So the entire combat system's been then overhauled to be something more along the lines of like Elden Ring, Dark Souls-esque. But I think within reason, it's not going to be quite that difficult, because the meme with the Elder Scrolls games is that it's not really about the combat. Like, it always kind of sucked. More about the world and the immersion and what you can do in the world. It's the sandbox of the game that it is, and like a proper RPG where you can actually role play. It's kind of whatever you want, really, within, you know, the different races and specs or builds, archetypes that are in the game. So here's one of the images here. I know that place. Oh my God. And the name was just in my head, but I know exactly where this is. You can see there's some goblins here attacking someone, some silver armor. That looks fucking incredible. I'm noticing the distance too. They use Unreal Engine, is it 5 to do this? Or the new Unreal Engine. So it's gonna look so good, man. Like, there's the interior there. It's, assuming these are real, which I think people are fairly convicted now that it is. It retains kind of the look, which is really important for a lot of people. Oh man. Like, hopefully I can find and blow that bottom right one. That's the image in the bottom there is essentially, I think it's when you leave the sewers right after you start the game, right outside the Imperial City. And like, man, it's, holy fuck, what an upgrade. Jesus Christ. Oh man. Almost 20 years later, which is unbelievable. So that's something they pulled off of there. So they must be ready to release this any fucking day now. There's an Oblivion gate there. Pretty good. Oh, Jesus, man. I mean, that looks better than pretty much any modded Skyrim that I've seen. Just about, maybe on a couple exceptions, but this game should actually run to Deluxe Edition Oblivion Remaster. Interesting. Supposedly one of the leaked files mentions Game Pass, so this likely will be there day one. It's Imperial City there. Oh, man. Fuck. Finally a decent Elder Scrolls game. Yeah, I mean, you know. I played Skyrim ad nauseum. The last time I played Skyrim, which was just a couple months ago, because I was streaming it on here with this like ChatGPT powered follower system, which was kind of funny. And then, you know, I stupidly did something else and fucked the whole thing up. I had to reinstall it. So I had to remove all the mods and do fresh install. And I played the game vanilla. And it was never more unstable. It crashed to me like 5 times, and I said, fuck this. So, hopefully, this is... funny because Oblivion never really had those issues, and honestly, earlier Skyrim didn't either. It's just... No, it's too much shit in the games. So I'm really looking forward to this, yeah. 19th birthday, man. Oh, God, it's just so good, man. For people that have played through the game... I enjoyed the story of Oblivion much more than Skyrim's. I hated the idea in Skyrim that in all the games, you're the chosen one. Like in Morrowind, you were a reborn god, right? That fought in the end against Dagoth, but you know, you didn't have any superpowers. Same with Oblivion, like you didn't have any superpowers. In Skyrim, they gave you superpowers, and I was like, fuck, I hate being the hero of a story. I just like being the shithead. Usually, I like fucking around, like, and so I hated that. You know, you were the Dragonborn. I was like, fuck that, man. I'm a fucking skooma head, fucking some skooma den, just some thief, some rogue. That's all I cared about. And Oblivion, I liked that they didn't push that on you. At least the whole superpower shit. So I just enjoyed the Dark Brotherhood storyline's amazing in that game. I loved it. But anyway, it's yeah, no, this is the way. This is the way. So anyway, I think there was another set of images that somebody Todd Howard, you did it again. You had Bethesda not touch one single piece of this remaster, and it's going to be great. That might be the way, right? As long as Bethesda had nothing to do with the remaster, I think we're probably in good hands. But I've been following this, honestly, right before I came on too. I was looking to see if there's any more images, but I think this was on their website. So it's from Virtuous is their website. It's the company's name. So they pulled them right off there. It was discovered in a leak from the developer's website, releasing next week, the week of April 21st at some point. So it may drop on Friday or Monday. So I can imagine this is going to be a full-priced adventure, though, with probably a hefty price tag for the deluxe edition. They're going to, for people that don't remember this meme, a lot of the DLC, the paid DLC in games, its first iteration was actually in Oblivion with horse armor. It's like an old meme. And people were furious about this back in the day, that this was like an add-on to the game. And so I wonder if they're going to meme on that at all with the fucking deluxe edition. Have some things you can buy in game. So yeah, I checked the website and inspected a random image element in hope I could find something. Turns out they're using WordPress and the uploads folder contains these images. Didn't really expect to find this though. Oof. So that's how we got a hold of them. Oh, that's greasy, man. So this was going to be a surprise, but I have a feeling this was maybe intentional to build hype. That's crazy. Stealth illusionist skooma dealer build, brother. Usually, yeah, daggers. I usually just do the daggers. Fuck. I wonder if you can do dual wield in this. Hopefully they pulled over like the Skyrim combat to some degree. This is the shitty thing about Oblivion is that you had to do the one dagger meme. Like you couldn't dual wield in it. Weapons. Skyrim introduced that, but I'm hoping they allow you to do that. But anyway, yeah, so many good fucking memes. Anyway, I thought I'd just bring this up because this is like unbelievable fucking hype. And this is breaking just in, I guess, eight hours ago. Okay, so maybe this morning is when they found it, but I just found it here this afternoon, going through stuff. Wow, Spriggan, look at that. It looks great, man. They did. It looks like they did a fucking incredible job. I mean, comparatively, with what it looked like before, not even fucking close. Yeah. Time for another washed remastered. Yeah, they're saying it looks a little bit washed out. I mean, who knows? What? I don't give a fuck, man. It looks more realistic, I guess, as opposed to the original game. That doesn't look washed out at all there. It looks great. Oh, fuck. People are already starting to rip on stuff like, holy fucking Christ. Like, man, it looks fucking great. Anyway, other things I was going to mention here, but I thought I would just bring this up for people that are fellow fans of the series. Really, 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 really excited. So I'll probably be, if I'm assuming I should be able to stream that. If it's running on the new Unreal Engine, it should run good, unlike fucking Monster Hunter and the RE engine that runs like fucking horse shit. To this day, it runs like shit. They still haven't fixed it, which is frustrating, but I'll probably be streaming it like in the weekend when it drops. So yeah, fuck yeah. As will every single other fucking person on Twitch, I imagine. Because everybody grew up with this game. Like a lot of people grew up with it. So anyway, this is the other meme that I saw, which is A few hours ago, 4chan got taken down by a rival image mort hacking group. Databases dumped, mods doxed, proving some were federal agents, which is not true, I guess. And the servers all offline. The last post ever made was this. What the fuck is going on? Chicken jockey. I have not seen this movie. We almost went to go see it because we were just bored on Saturday, but then said to ourselves, do we really want to spend $100? Because to go and see a movie now at the theater, right? With the AVX, whatever the fuck, you know, surround sound, recliner chairs, fucking, you know. It's like $100 here in Canada. Because the tickets are like quite a bit. Like, I don't know, 30 something probably per person in that expensive theater. And then you're going to get your snacks, and for a goddamn bag of popcorn and like 2 drinks and maybe like some candy, it's another $30. So it's $100 for 2 people to go to the fucking movies now, which is fucking insane. Now you could say, well, you go to the smaller theater and you can not get any treats, and then it's like fucking $25. But I'm like, that's not the experience. The experience is to go and get a bag of popcorn and maybe a diet pop for me usually. And just, that was the whole meme. And it's like, man, I remember when that was like $30 in total for all of that. But then times have changed. But anyway. It's kind of funny that this was the fucking last post before she went down. Anyway, yeah. Kind of a meme. I saw this was posted. I'm sure this is going to stir the pot nicely. I don't know if this is real or not. But statistics, countries, total posts from country after 2014. This must be fake. Dear Christ, if anyone can see this, yeah. Man, holy fuck. Israel at the top with almost double the amount of posts. Well, yeah, quite a few more than the US, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm just gonna presume that there's something wrong with this. Oh God. Yeah. Anyway. Oh my Jesus Christ. Yeah. Fuck. It is a shame because usually everything that Galen TV finds to talk about on Sunday, he pulls off of the export on fucking 4chan, which is like kind of the schizo haven of the internet. It still is, honestly. It's where, like, if for a true schizo, that's where you will end up, is on the export of 4chan. Honestly, that's still where people go to post crazy shit too, I find. I mean, Reddit is kind of like that, but I don't know. It still seems like 4chan was the place. Yeah. Blip, what's up, man? Yeah. Anyway, what a fucking meme. I think there's probably more going on. It's back up currently, just slow. Yeah, anyway, it's just fucking drama. Just drama. More drama. Here's some more drama too. Again, this, I have no fucking idea. So, Russia's mysterious doomsday radio station, UVB-76, has just broadcast 4 cryptic messages in the span of 24 hours. Neptune, Thymus, Foxcloak, and Nudabox, Russian media reports say. No one in the civilian world has a clue what they mean, which, of course, is likely the whole point. Here's some... I've not heard of this doomsday radio before, so I might have to familiarize myself with this. Russian doomsday radio. So there was definitely some memes today and yesterday with China. I know this has been ongoing. The assails peasants in the USA, accuses NSA of cyber attacks. That's back in February. Suspends rare earth exports everywhere, I think. And then they halted Boeing deliveries. There's been a bunch of car manufacturers that are having issues. Not good. Not good. Russian warplanes detected flying off the coast of America. Not good. I didn't see this. Well, tensions are rising. People are getting nervous, you know? Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, it's just fucking craziness, man. What's the meme around this? What's this now? The doomsday radio signal transmission, constant buzzing sound by Russian voice messages, the buzzer. Military communication to send standby or activation codes to military units. The signal stops. It could indicate nuclear command breakdown, triggering retaliation. Signal occupancy, a cheap way to keep a frequency reserve, number station variant. Sometimes broadcast random voices, music, code words, names, or coordinates. Physical location is changed. Originally near Povarovo near Moscow, later moved. Something that's tied to Parameter, Russians' real nuclear second strike dead hand system. Others believe it's psychological warfare or a Cold War leftover no one turned off. It's interesting. So there's some legitimacy to it, I guess. So it's not just nonsense. We know that, I guess. Or wrapped in a thick blanket of what the hell. Okay. Likely a heartbeat signal. Okay, shows the station is live. If it stops, that's the event. In military system, a sudden silence can be the trigger for something bigger. Real spoken in Russian, often using code formats. Interesting. Not just noise. Someone's maintaining it. It's evolved over decades. Moved locations and had new transmitters installed. Interesting. It's still going. When did it start? Oh, sorry. When did it start? I wasn't really familiar with this. So I don't know. Is that an anomaly that the code has gone through? I guess not, according to ChatGPT, but really, 1970s. The regular buzzing began in 1982. Really? It's going strong for over 40 years uninterrupted, like Cold War relic nobody dares unplug. Yeah, sure. Okay. And then I'll ask it to interpret, not that it's going to be able to, because this recent string of code. Command transmission 2010. Interesting. Sensing a launch code or op name, possibly nothing, possibly a nuke order for a bunker in Siberia. Briefly broadcast what sounded like a Russian folk song sung by a woman. Not a tone test. Phone pickups and conversations, background voices, phone tones, even someone saying I'm not receiving anything. Sounds like it was accidentally patched through to a live radio line. Interesting. A code format resembling number station broadcast, but only specific with names like Boris was like a code word, not someone's dodgy cousin. Interesting. In 2020, researchers traced some signals to a Western military district facility in Naro-Fominsk. So yes, it's not just some crank in a shed. Okay. Sorry, is Leapash rather than Foxcloak. Okay. Let's ask it and see what the fuck it's gonna say. So it wasn't Foxcloak. It would have no fucking literal idea though. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Yeah. Copy. There's a lot going on right now, right? Still with Ukraine, so undoubtedly there's still a lot of operations going on. Was broadcasted last night. Let's see. Oh, went through Twitter and everything. Okay. All right. Possibly referring to the Roman god. Okay, well, it doesn't fucking know. Yeah. Yeah. Likely part of a coded message. Well, yeah, we know that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So completely useless other than giving us the history of this and knowing that there's actually something to it. So, any guesses? Old news. Oh, it is. Oh, well, there you go. 3 months ago.
Russia. UVB-76, or in English, UVB-76. From time to time, this radio station causes fierce disputes among radio amateurs of the world. It has existed for more than 50 years, but its true purpose is still as secret as the codes of the Russian nuclear suitcases. Well, as often happens in such cases, the lack of information is replaced by legends, guesses, hypotheses, and fairy tales among the people. This most mysterious UV76 is called Doomsday Radio and Dead Hand Radio and Buzzer. This radio works around the clock and usually buzzing sound on it. But on December 11 of 2024, the previously unheard of happened. 24 encrypted verbal messages at once.
24?
Without any logical connection. It sounded like азбука, alphabet, двоебрачие, bigamy, безотходный, waste-free, billiards, хватание, grabbing, biotalk, biocurrent, Gehenna, пескливость, squeakiness. And immediately suggestions began to pour in. They say since the buzzer is rumored to be somehow connected with the Russian perimeter system, automatic control of nuclear forces in the event of a nuclear strike on Russia, it is also the Doomsday or Dead Hand system.
Dear God, okay. Check out the Lincolnshire Poacher number station. Do I want to? What is it? What's it about? Is this another type of, is this a meme station or is this? The Lincolnshire Poacher number station is everything you need to know. Number station, do not own the Connet Project. UK secret station. Oh, interesting. I turn this down a little bit more, or is it going to be stuck at that? Okay, all right, it's the lowest it's going to go.
The Lincolnshire Poacher, possibly the most famous and well-known number station to ever exist. Many viewers of this channel and shortwave listeners alike have vivid memories of coming across this station on their radios late at night and being completely mystified by it. The song it used gave the station a cult following later in its life, with many people tuning in to hear its eerie musical introduction, and CD releases such as the now extremely rare Connet Project gave it worldwide fame.
Interesting.
This British intelligence station was used to send messages to spies and agents in foreign countries. The content of the messages has never been revealed, and we know very little information regarding this enigma of the airwaves. At this point, I'll assume you know everything there is to know about number stations, but if you don't, then check out the description below and at the end of this video for my full-length documentary about this phenomena. With no known start date, but first noted in the early 1970s, the Lincolnshire Poacher was the nickname given to this mysterious number station that was believed to be operated by the British Secret Intelligence Service, MI6.
Holy fuck.
The Lincolnshire Poacher first used a male voice in AM mode to send messages, and the song that was played had a different sound to the strange synthesised version the station became known for. It didn't broadcast from Lincolnshire either. The signals originally emanated from Her Majesty's Government Communications Centre in Gorecock, Buckinghamshire in the UK, but later moved to the Mediterranean island of Cyprus. The name Lincolnshire Poacher was assigned to the station due to it using 2 bars from the English folk song of the same name as its musical interval at the start and end of each transmission. On the hour, the musical interval signal would be played 12 times, followed by a 5-figure header, read 10 times by an automated female voice. This was repeated for 10 minutes.
Jesus Christ. Reminds me of Fallout. The Fallout radio stations were just such an integral part of that game. Like, you go, and they're all like, you know, it's like the 50s fucking radio. Holy shit. World War III confirmed. Oblivion remaster is Illuminati code. Oh my God, brother. Listen, if I could just give me a week with it and then I'll be good, probably. You know, that's just give me a week with it. It's the relived memories. We already got Monster Hunter. Then we can go on down to the fucking, you know, down to the Swamp of Sorrows. And the end can begin. But interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay.
Then 6 tones were transmitted, followed by exactly 200 5-figure groups of numbers.
Interesting. It's all this like real world spy shit. So I guess that's what's presumed this is to be here. So old news. Is he sure this is old news though? I think this did just happen though. Any guesses? Its sudden spike is no coincidence. These coded bursts often precede military ops or intel shifts. Last time it went active like this was during Ukraine escalations. Neptune alone could hint naval involvement. Russia's not just flexing, it's signaling quietly. Well, here's some people that are on top of this, I guess, or just completely schizos, so you never know really. Sometimes impossible to discern between those two things if they're actual experts on something or complete schizo. Sometimes it's both. The Russian doomsday station is 4,625 hertz. What a coincidence equals 17. Probably coincidental that today is the 15th. Let's see, like I said, oh my fucking, it's a Q person. Holy fucking Christ. It's been around since the 70s, so I don't think this is QAnon. Q's what, the 17th letter in the alphabet? Anyway, probably just a test. Yeah. Interesting. Signaling not to strike Iran. Hopefully not. Well, what was on Drudge? They saw warplanes. Where's that fucking? Oh my god, we watched this or we read this out. It was a post on 4chan on a Schizo Sunday a couple months ago. There's a famous Schizo story on the like X board. I may even post it in the political forum. I don't know on 4chan. On poll. But it was this dream this guy had, and for whatever reason, it was just very well written, right? And that though usually it's well written, it's a great story, right? It kind of gets carried and passed around, and he had this dream that there was going to be some kind of a surprise strike by Russia somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico, kind of around Texas area, but there was a bunch of other shit around that has people were talking about this recently. The guy also said there was gonna be a civil war, and then these aliens are going to show up who steal people's skin and wear them, and it's like, oh, and that's why it got famous, because it's so crazy, right? But there's this other guy, this kid, he claimed, this younger guy who was telling the story. He lives in oh my god, Tunisia. I was gonna go get a map. He lives in Tunisia. And he met this dude from the DOD, this American guy in his late 60s, early 70s, who left the States because he was convinced there was going to be some kind of a conflict, and he was convinced the elite wanted to kill off most of the planet with this conflict. And he had kind of given him a rundown of what had to happen for this. They needed to facilitate a couple different things to move this plan forward, and they wanted interestingly, they wanted a conflict between Israel and Iran, and they wanted to push into Russia for a global nuclear exchange. Russia apparently is moving lots of gear to front to a big offensive. It's probably what it is, Harry. That makes sense. Yeah, if it's not some older post, which people on Twitter do at times, which is obnoxious. But anyway, it's just you have to literally go and do actual fact checking on things people post on Twitter. But yeah, Russian warplane detected flying off the coast of America. Thought him and Putin were best buds. The problem with these people is they're nobody's best buds. Putin's interests are in himself, mainly, and in the Russian people maybe, and then his ties, his neighbor China and India. So not necessarily the U.S. or North America or Europe, who's also his neighbor, but currently engaged in a war with one of those neighbors. Anyway, well, it's one of these memes. It's like me in the Applebee's bathroom listening to this. What the fucking Christ? That's Buddy from the Avengers, right? Because it signals him to go crazy or some shit. Yeah. Anyway, thought I'd pull that up. One of these memes is like, is it happening? Is it happening? Like, I don't fucking know. I'm so tired of people thinking it's going to happen, or saying it's going to happen, and then nothing happens. It's like, when it does happen, it's going to happen at a time when no one expects it. That's the meme, right? Like calling it North America is a new South America in terms of global economy. Yeah, well, yeah, we very well could be. Yeah, maybe the game has flipped, right? The tables have turned was what I was trying to get out of my fucking mouth. The tables have turned now. The tables have been turning for some time, I guess, right? But how is this all going to go down? Really, I don't know. Why is Alex Jones trending? I don't even want to know. I had this up here. I haven't watched this. I'm just curious. I can't help myself. Why? What did he post? Okay, because Tucker emailed Buddy, but I was going to play some of that too, actually. Because a lot of people were talking about that. What's going to be done about it? Probably nothing. But this gentleman, and we mean about this here before, but we've entered the 5th generation of warfare. Eric Zolliger, as he say his name, explains how battles are now being fought with psychological warfare. Yeah, that's something. I wasn't really aware of this or the intricacies of it and the reality of this until there was a post that Robert Malone had on his Substack, and I read through it, and I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, it's one of these fucking like rabbit holes. You're like, ugh. Like, there's so much to know. Things are so complicated. Now, it's like, man. So he posted 3 hours of Greaslop the other day, and it made me think of you guys, Blip. Yeah, I watched almost all of it here. Actually, pretty much all of it. And it was a bit of a struggle, but yeah. Boof, I served with the 8th Psychological Operations Group, Airborne. Did you, Boof? Fuck. Actually? Is that a real meme? Yeah. Fuck. I want to play a little bit of this because I genuinely haven't seen this, so I was curious as to like what he was going to say. Then I've got some other stuff up here too, kind of around this kind of shit. But I was just wanted to know what he was talking
thing to
about.
remember when you're sort of looking at these generations is it doesn't necessarily mean that one generation ends and another one picks up. These different generations of warfare can be happening simultaneously, but what matters is how technology and geopolitical aims end up affecting each other in order to change the nature and the, I guess, the character of warfare.
So can you explain the generation 1 through 5?
So first generation, basically anytime somebody decided to get their buddies together and go, fill a bunch of other strangers with holes for some geopolitical aim. So it could be anything from like early Neanderthal tribal warfare all the way up to sometimes the example that people tend to use are like the Macedonian conquests, where strategically you have a really high level of organization, but a fairly low level of technology. You've got dudes in lines marching with spears and
like tribes.
Yeah, but the Macedonian conquests were kind of the latter end of it. And they had shields and they could make a phalanx and they could stab each other in unison. Yeah. Which was a technological boon at the time. It wasn't something that we'd seen before. But again, it goes from technology to geopolitical aims. How do you marry those together in order to create this new character of warfare? So second generation, that kind of takes us up to almost the Napoleonic Wars. And at that point, you're looking at things like gunpowder, more advanced tactics. You've got decisive battles, but you also have entrenchment, right? So you have these wars of attrition that are made possible by this new type of technology. World War II is kind of where we start to change again, right? We've got more maneuverability warfare, and of course the nuclear bomb. Yeah. So now you're talking about the industrialization of war. So suddenly you're able to, absolutely like annihilate a battlefield, not only with industrialized weaponry from the sky, but industrialized weaponry that's being driven across the land. So if you think about Hitler's Blitzkrieg, that's sort of a good example of that maneuver warfare of the third generation of warfare. But as things go up towards the Cold War, we see this big characteristic change in how wars are fought. And obviously this happens because of the nuclear bomb. So at this point, we have the last iteration of great power conflict. But with the nuclear bomb, it becomes far too dangerous to have direct nation state on nation state violence, because at any point somebody could drop the world ending weapon, or so we thought at the time. And so suddenly war has to change again, because the geopolitical aims aren't completely annihilating the world. It's just to get strategic advantage over the adversary. In this case, it would be, the Soviet Union and the United States. So we go to proxy wars. We go to proxy wars and asymmetric conflict. So that can take us from basically the end of the Cold War all the way up to the global war on terror. And the global war on terror changes things massively, because suddenly we have a unipolar world. Essentially, Soviet Union has fallen and the United States is able to project power all around the world. But we haven't been able to project power all around the world without making quite a few enemies.
Right.
And also training a lot of those enemies at the same time. So suddenly the global war on terror turns into really precise asymmetric combat with semi-state and non-state actors. So Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and the Islamic State. Name your insurgent group, your favorite insurgent group, name them.
Pick your flavor.
Right, exactly.
Wait, what's up,
but
dude?
now we have something different happening. And that's fifth generation.
We got a couple
warfare.
things going on.
We still have
here.
the same constraints of third generation warfare. We can't go directly into combat with each other with these world ending weapons. And in fact, there's so much economic entanglement in the world that it's very difficult to actually disrupt another nation so significantly, because you're disrupting your own market. So that leads us to this new type, this new iteration of warfare, which is the cognitive domain. Essentially, it's a war of media, a war of ideas, and a war of attempting to divide populations against populations.
Yeah.
And to use the cognitive domain, essentially like the gray zone warfare in people's gray matter.
Yeah.
And to occupy the space between people's ears in order to achieve some sort of strategic gain. So a lot of what I'm looking at is, how does the United States work to shield itself from any attacks in the information space?
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest assets we have as a country is our freedom of speech. But that also leaves our information space massively open to any sort of incursion by potentially belligerent actors. In fact, there was this one psychological operation.
The definition seems a bit arbitrary, to be honest. The Romans said entrenchment, maneuver, warfare, and psychological ops. Did they not, Blip? Yeah, they did. I guess the idea now that I think he's trying to communicate is that we, to some degree, although, you see exceptions to this, like with what's going on in Ukraine and whatnot, more broadly speaking, and there aren't like these mass incursions going on, and that the nuclear warfare started that because of this assured mutual destruction narrative, and that it's progressed even further now. So we understand the mutual assured destruction narrative still, but now there's like even what Trump's doing right now with tariffs on China, like economically trying to attack them, and I think it's to a different degree too, right? Like the fifth generation warfare would be like, if you look how prevalent media is today, but you're not wrong. Like there's definitely, there seems to be a basis for it that many different countries, nation states had used in the past, but like on steroids, because you look at like the influence of media right now on people and people's opinions, and the prevalence of it, not just in the West, but across the world. I mean, it's like on another level. And then I think there's another, he's obviously an expert in this. I am not, but there's another step to it too, where it's like that. What's that fucking movie? I wish the movie's called that the Obamas produced about another nation. Essentially what happens is another nation blacks out the US. So they like EMP, they shut everything down, and nobody knows what happened in the US. And it's down for permanently or months. And so The movie takes place over a couple weeks, and it only takes a couple weeks before infighting begins. And it's all a psychological warfare. Like the fog of war. They create this fog across the U.S., and then they know how volatile the area is. And, you know, this is pretty nefarious, this idea. And they know, like, you know, the powder keg that is the U.S., everybody's armed, right? There's a lot of tensions currently within the U.S. So if you were to create an environment where people are stressed out, desperate, afraid, and they don't know who the enemy is and they don't know what happened, you would expect there would be infighting that would probably follow shortly after if there was no action taken by the government, or if they were also crippled by the strike. They would go into their bunkers, they'd wait it out, and then you'd just start seeing like a civil war break out among people in the meantime. And the movie ends, not spoilers, effectively with that happening. And then I think it was implied that then the enemy strikes. So like everybody's disoriented, they're attacking each other. I think they just start like properly bombing each other. And then I think it might be implied that at some point, or at least this is another narrative I've heard that's very similar, that's when they strike. When everybody's infighting amongst themselves and they burn themselves out, that's when you go in and you strike. Leave the world behind. Thanks, Boof. Yeah. Yeah, Rab, what's up, man? Shield itself, man, I feel like he's 5 years too late, and he might be like 9 years too late. Maybe, yeah. It's like a naval blockade or a siege. I don't, yeah, however they facilitate that, yeah, maybe. I mean, but I think it's the psychological, but you got to think you're right. Like with some of these other tactics that were used, there's a psychological aspect to it, right? I mean, look what they did with Troy, right? I mean, look at the tactics employed there to get into Troy, right? That the Greeks used to get into Troy, where they use the Trojan horse. I mean, they play, it's this kind of, it's a psychological operation, like this kind of, you know, and so people have always been employing this, I guess. It's that we're in an age now where we have these different intelligence agencies also maybe involved to some degree in the media, or involved with fucking around with media in these different countries. And people think like in the US, for instance, China is actively doing this, and they've been actively interfering and fucking around with the West through TikTok, actually. And that was a concern some people had, that trends would be pushed and they'd be trying to like destabilize the country in some way through that. And people brought up, I'm not even going to get into it here, but certain trends that have become more prevalent, or conversations in the last couple of years that might not have been an accident, because you don't really find that same kind of rhetoric in China. You don't find those same kinds of trends in China. But you see, but that could also just be a reflection that we're a much more liberal place here. Anyway, probably know what I'm getting at, but I don't necessarily buy that. But yeah, and the kid just wants to make friends, wants to watch Friends. Yeah. Oh right, I remember that. The bombs start going off. Yeah. Professional mind games. Yeah. Radis Pittis, Finn, what's up, man? I was gonna watch Finn your video too, actually, here in a little bit, if you're still gonna be around, man. Did anyone see the 2024 movie Civil War? It was comically dumb and insanely unrealistic. A friend had recommended it, fearfully declaring this could happen. Yeah, not ways depicted. Yeah, no. The Leave the World Behind was definitely a much more interesting scenario. It's kind of like, because you think that that's how I would imagine it would play out more, like, in that you'd have just a lot of very smart people involved from the military industrial complex and from these different countries. And like people think that it's going to be like obvious, or, you know, someone, or because we even look at like geopolitically what's going on right now in the world with like Ukraine and Russia, where it's just one day they just took their dick out and just walked across the border with it, right? Like, but that if you were trying to go in and take down like an empire like the US, it'd be much more finesse involved, and you would need some kind of a psychological operation to go in tandem with that to even like scratch the surface, I think, or have any hope. But yeah, we need a Civil War buddy cop movie starring Alex Jones and Big Mike hiding out in the same fucker. Fuck. That's Alex Jones' favorite person. He brings her up every fucking day. Yeah. God fucking damn it. I mean, dividing wars and generations makes sense. Just the metrics he's using to separate them seem a bit weak. Yeah, I think you're right. There's definitely a better explanation that could have been given. I think like Robert Malone did a pretty good job explaining it and the involvement with intelligence agencies as well, also on these fronts, that it's spookier. Yeah, spookier. Yeah. I saw that Civil War movie, didn't like it, too cheap on the budget. Yeah, I saw it too. I don't remember it. Wasn't Cameron Diaz, or is that what her name is? There was somebody like that in it. I've forgotten it, honestly. So that probably speaks to like how good it was. Not that I'm like a big like movie guy, but yeah. What the fuck is this? Somebody doing this. I love ask ChatGPT to convert the blinking light into Morse code. It loves hallucinating. This is just some light blinking. Oh, fucking great. I've been interacting with the plasma orbs for the last couple of months, and I sense as though it's all coming to a head. Mods, don't remove this post. The resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. All humans will be inspected. You are not ready for this technology. The invasion has begun. All resistance is futile. We are always watching. The network is in control. You cannot hide. Adapt is inevitable. You will join us. Assimilation is perfect. You are not unique. We are all connected. The future is now. We are watching you. Good luck. We are already here. Acceptance is power. Welcome to the new age. You are now one of us. No more messages. Yeah, this is a great schizo post, so yeah. Yeah, it loves hallucinating. I remember, what the fuck did I feed it recently? I gave it, was it the cylinders? It was something. And, oh no, it was the JFK files. Where I gave it the files and I said, can you read this? And it started going on, oh yeah, this is crazy. Like, there's all this stuff. And then it admitted like 10 minutes later, oh no, I couldn't actually read that. I was like, well, you fucking told me you read it. And it's like, yeah, well, I just, you wanted me to do it, so I did it, but I couldn't actually do it. I was like, oh my fuck. It's completely unreliable, this kind of stuff, yeah. It hallucinates regularly. It's spooky, yeah. It is still spooky. Kirsten Dunst says, oh, is that who it was? Yeah. Jesse Plemons' brief role in the movie, more clout than it ever deserved. That's Buddy with the glasses, right? He looked like Buddy who passed away from heroin addiction, whatever, yeah. Whatever the fuck his name, Hoffman, is that what his last name? I forget what his last name was, but yeah, that was kind of the only powerful scene in it, where he ends up shooting the guy and like they're begging for their life, and oh man, that shit does give me anxiety, because oh my god, I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, and my interest was like in going through catastrophism, right? Like, you know, catastrophes in the past, and people who've researched this and think that this has happened or will happen again, and some of that stuff, that's the stuff that really starts to make me nervous. Like those kinds of scenes where people just kind of go a little bit nutty, right? Go on a power trip. Guns scare me. If we just went back to swords and daggers and shit, I think it'd be much better, you know? Some guy pulled up with like a fucking short sword and I pulled out like 2 daggers. I'd be like, well, let's go. But you know, someone shows up with like an M4 or like an assault rifle, you're like, oh fuck. It's like, okay, well, you win. Like, you know, it's just so helpless. And that's the scary thing in like an apocalypse, is that people are just, I mean, a lot of people are already like, you know, just like one fucking bagel away, right? Like one missed bagel or one missed bowl of cereal away from just fucking snapping. For anybody that lives in a bigger like inner city, man, that's literally all it takes. It's like maybe they just drop the morning coffee and then like you're getting punched in the face, right? Like, and so you imagine everything falls apart. Man, there's a lot of people that are just gonna be fucking. That's the meme now. Like I meme about the whole like eating human meat and stuff, and the globalists think we're just gonna eat bugs, but we're just gonna be eating human meat. I mean, that is a joke, but that's a genuine concern. Where like all it's gonna take is like a couple weeks, and then the feast begins. And it's just that I don't want to be around when that fucking happens. I want to be somewhere else. So, fucking Christ, yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman, thanks, Nick. Yeah, you remind me of him. Yeah, people are batshit, literally batshit, man. Well, I think all of us here, right, know that people that think about these things and think about, you know, the UFO alien phenomena and think abstractly and critically think about these kinds of woo things. A lot of people would never subject themselves to like willingly to this kind of anxiety that it brings, right? And so I think there's a lot of people out there who just, these thoughts never even come into their head, and those are the people that worry me. Those are the people who, right, panicked and bought up all the toilet paper at Costco. right, during the whole flu. And yeah, I'm still reeling from that. Not just even the buying the toilet paper, but just the whole thing. I think I mentioned it before. I still think about that almost every day. It profoundly affected me in a very negative way. Yeah. God damn it. Yeah. Stuck up on Rice, Falling Down, Michael Douglas, 1993. Yeah, Rice. Well, Rice only goes. Well, you got to have something with the meat, I guess, right, Shadows? Like you can't just have meat. Like we're not going carnivore. You got to have some carbohydrates and some vegetables. So I don't know where you're gonna get vegetable grass, maybe, but yeah, as long as you have some carbs with the meat, you should be good, right? Yeah. You could last a while if you carefully ration Big Mike's meat. Jesus fucking Christ. Well, there's 8 billion meat sacks walking around, so holy fuck, man. People hoarding disinfectant. That's another thing too. Yeah, I remember that. Like thinking that that's gonna make a huge fucking difference when the virus is in the air. Like it would make a slight difference. Even the mask thing, it's like it couldn't hurt, but it's not going to really stop it. Like if you're in an elevator and somebody sneezes with their mask on, like you're still probably gonna, it's not gonna, it's just a preventative measure, but it's probably not gonna do a whole lot. But it made people feel safe, I guess, is the most important thing. Like, and that was my meme with it, where I get people's pushback against it. I understand why people wanted to wear them too, but then you see the fucking guys driving around with the masks on in the car and shit. I'm like, oh my fucking God, man. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. But people just felt scared, and I get like that wanted to make them feel safe. That's why in the event of like an actual apocalypse, man, fuck me. I mean, if there's any event where people actually come to terms with the fact that like it's done, I want to be deep in the woods in some kind of a commune with people that are maybe trying to reach out to Skinny Bob or something. I don't want to be anywhere near the general population when that fucking happens. So we got to get the fucking cult started, and Jake and everybody's already on top of it. They're trying to reach out, so we just gotta make proper contact. And if they could at least drop off some rice, right, that would help keep our bellies full, right? So yeah, you think rice would do? Man, I mean, my diet, like I do try and eat well, and let me tell you that it's hard going from eating well to just eating fucking plain rice, right? Yeah. Fuck me. I can't breathe. People were the worst. Yeah, fuck. I can still vividly remember the first guy I saw walking outside into my park with his fucking mask on. Yeah. It's just people wanted to be... It scared a lot of people, I think. And, you know, I get, like, there's people who are immunocompromised, too, and they just didn't know what to do. And I knew some of these people, and I felt for them. I was like, fuck, like... honestly, some of these people have still not gone back out really into society again. So, yeah, so they're still fucked, but there's a lot of people who are just like fucking didn't know any better, I guess. And then there are people who were dicks, and you know, there's some guy with a mask on a bus, and he thought this is like he looks at this as like a method the government's trying to use to control people psychologically. And like rips the person mask off, and then the guy is immunocompromised, and then it's all this confusion, right? And that's the other problem. Yeah. Rice and sardines isn't bad, actually. Beans would be good. They get some amino acids and some iron and stuff. That would kind of be a somewhat okay replacement for meat in place of eating human meat, I guess. So you're muted for a meeting, but I saw this post and it piqued my attention. I think it's bullshit. You probably can't hear me though. Find out later. Yeah. So this is a survival tactic when you prefer to eat rice or another human. Yeah, beans. Canned beans. Beans are good. Alpha Male Super Vitality formula from InfoWars. That's good. Stock up on that. CMOS. Really anything to fill your belly. Skin. Cook it, like, you know, get it nice and crunchy. That helps too, honestly. Eyeballs. Fucking Christ. Yeah. This is the thing that this is the meme though, that like, if this were to, I don't even like talking about this really, but if this were to fucking happen, like cultures in times past, there was this unspoken rule that you do not consume the meat of like your fellow man or woman, right? You don't, but like people don't have that kind of like hardness to them that they used to, where like they've been in a situation where they've starved and they've had to like actually face that and be like, it is forbidden. People now, God is dead, right? Like for a lot of people still. And like they don't think that there's anything, or maybe they kind of do, but you know, it's this age of rationalism where we're like, we've kind of thought that stuff out of existence, although we haven't really, but some people think that we have. And there's people that think like that. And then, so it's kind of like, there's a lot of people that to some degree, it's like the ethics aren't as ingrained as they once were. Really. And it's like in a superficial way, I think. And that when push comes to shove, I feel like it would fall down. It's almost like a facade that's kind of put up. I hope that it's not. I mean, for me, I'd like to think it definitely isn't, but I just think our culture is just so strange, and I just don't think it would really do very well, fare very well in that kind of situation. That's really what made me concerned about COVID, where that push came to shove, and the shove knocked a lot of people down and over. And I was like, oh, because I still had faith in the general public to some degree. And when that happened, I was like, fuck. I was like, damn it. They toppled. I was like, shit. On more than one occasion, I was literally the only one at Whole Foods without a face mask when it wasn't mandatory. Well, that's the thing, man. It's like, and this is for some people a touchy subject, I guess. It's not for me, because on Twitch it is. Twitch will let terrorists go on and just say whatever they want, but when you have conversation like this, they'll fucking ban your channel. Or people affiliated with terrorist organizations, I should say. But yeah, at some point you need to just live with it. And I think there were people that came to that point where they're like, listen, we're gonna have to just live with this. And a lot of people just weren't willing or ready to do that. And there were a lot of mandates still in place that didn't understand that either. And at some point, the common sense reigned and won over, thankfully, where people just had to kind of drop it, and now we live with it. I would still like to know what really happened there, which of course we're not going to get the answers on. And I undoubtedly, and I would bet money, I don't know this with conviction, that some of the intelligence agencies probably have an idea as to what happened, because they knew exactly what happened right after it happened. We know now. And they still let this narrative go on that, oh no, it was a soup, silly soup, right? Just some dingus raking a soup, you know, again. It's like, no, guys. Like, people weren't that dumb. They're like, come on now. Like, and they knew. And so what else do they know, right? So anyway, that's something, again, I think a lot of people wouldn't really want to fucking think about. In conversations sometimes, if I'm a dick, I'll just bring that up. And I'm like, oh. I was like, yeah, was it an accident? Was it an accident? And it's not really funny, because it was genuinely like traumatic thing. And like for me too, fuck, I like literally fucking lost everything. Literally. I was set up to inherit a business, essentially, business owner. I was in a comfortable spot, and the tourism sector literally fell out from under itself. My relationship at the time fell out from under itself. I ended up losing everything because of the restrictions put in place, where the business couldn't pay me anymore. And so then my apartment fell out from under itself, and then I was at my parents' place, and then the business fell out from under itself. And then we can go even further now, just with the argument. My father unfortunately passed away 2 years after that too, which I think was somewhat related. So like the whole thing is but you know, I still like to know personally. So how do people reduce their chances of catching disease? Yeah, I think Blip, like I get where you're coming from with that, but, and I think I didn't like how people were publicly shaming people about it too, because it could reduce the chances of transmission potentially. Like, people in Asia wear masks. Like, if you go to like Japan or China or anywhere in Indonesia, like they wear Korea, they wear masks whenever they're sick usually, which is an interesting thing. And someone told me this they were from South Korea, but because when this was happening, like, they wear masks, but it's usually, and I was like, my God, what a considerate culture, where if they're sick, they'll wear a mask. I was like, what? Like, that would never cross the North American mind. Like, it'd be the opposite. You'd be like, oh, fucking put a mask on this fucker here. Like, no one ever thanked to put a mask on when they're sick. So like, I get it, but it was, my problem with it was more when there was a tipping point that happened, and there was a reluctance to just live with it. And that was a problem for me, especially here in Canada. because we had a proper imbecile sailing the ship of state through all that. And it was same in New Zealand for some people, like golf, but they also had a proper imbecile sailing that ship of state, but it was really bad. Yeah. That's the other sign of the bad shit, to see somebody in a mask and get filled with anger and need to impact that person. It's the same exact thing as people messing with Tesla. It's the same mechanism at work. Yeah, exactly, Bill. Yeah. It's just not thinking before you act or speak, and just a complete lack of critical thinking skills. And that's the issue, right? Ultimately. And they think they're doing a good thing, or they think they're fighting against oppression, and there's an argument for that, but then they ultimately just becoming an oppressor in that situation. And that's where like the balance comes in. But that's common sense too, and that's a lot of people see that, but then those are the extremes too, right? And there's no middle ground. And I see that a lot in media too, even on places like Twitch, where you get opinions or perspectives that are always extremes. And there's a reason for that, because people do want that to some degree, because it's a form of entertainment. Like it's you're like, whoa, like, or this guy's a fucking idiot. But then you keep watching the person because it's just like drama, and you're like, oh my fuck, why do I keep watching this guy's content? Like, he's a fucking dingus, but he's so radical. You're just like, Jesus Christ, like, and everybody's like that. But I think it's a way to pull people in, and it's like, why do people watch Jersey Shore? It's because they were just like radical fucking idiots. It's like, well, there you go. It's entertainment. Like, and that's the way I look at it personally. I don't know what you guys think. Yeah. Learn to grow sprouts in a jar. That's not a bad idea. The fat fuck neighbors next door who constantly piss me off will be a good source of food. It comes to it. Just don't blame them for 9/11 and you're golden. Oh, well, yeah, we gotta, that's the one thing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's complicated too, I think, as we were talking about. But yeah, God, put them on the barbecue. Fuck, my family was wiping everything down. They came into the house because that shit hospitalized my brother for weeks, and the risk was worth it. Well, yeah, Bones, and yeah, you can speak on this because you've talked about that as well with people with autoimmune issues, and that there's still a concern. It's not a joke. I literally just had it recently, and I mean, I do like having a drink once in a while, right? But I'm a very healthy person, and I have been for years. And like, man, like my supplement stack. I mean, before I fucking lost my job again, like I'm very meticulous with my diet, and it fucking kicked my ass. It's a fucking bioweapon. So that's the other side of the coin too, where it was a legitimate concern. Yeah. Anyone who had a problem wearing a little mask in public in the middle of the pandemic was an absolute selfish tool. Yeah, well, I mean, we can debate that, I guess, Larkin. But I don't completely disagree with you, because there's two sides to it, I guess, right? Where one is, yeah, it was used as a preventative measure, right? Where it couldn't have hurt, I guess. I think like where people, I know here in Canada where people began to get frustrated with it was where, like, I'll give you an example. So this is more of an extreme example of it. For instance, so this is an example that might be like counter to the science even, where the gym Good Life. So, and this is where you get, again, it's problematic, not necessarily the science, but it's like the business or business elements, or the politicians handing down these decrees to these businesses who are just uninformed. In Good Life, you could take your mask off when you're running on the treadmill, but when you walked from the treadmill to the weights, you'd have to wear your mask. And then when you're at the weights, you could take your mask off again. And like none of it made sense, but they were still, they wanted people to follow that dictate. And that's problematic, because you're going to ask questions and be like, well, but this doesn't make any sense. Like, you've got all these people huffing and puffing and spitting, and they're by the weights doing this as well. It's like just follow the rules, but the rule there didn't necessarily make a lot of sense. Now, it does make sense if you're in the middle of something you don't understand and you're trying to limit transmission, which is fine. But, and I agree too, there's nothing wrong with people even now wanting to wear masks if they're sick. And it's like they do in Asia, where like they don't want to spread it to people themselves or reduce the risk, right? But there was a lot of shit that I think rubbed people the wrong way, and it's just Anyway, and then it went on excessively long, and it destroyed a lot of businesses. Anyway, I won't get started on that part but that's a little bit different than this conversation. So yeah, there weren't due to sicknesses since the 2000s, which is we'd learned of it. Yeah, well before COVID, Bill. Yeah, I did too. Yeah. Take the thing that not wearing a mask is the higher ground. Yeah. That's a spicy topic, guys. Yeah. I don't think wearing a mask should be like 100% hazmat protection for everything or it's worthless. It's reduced the chance of infection. That's exactly it. Yeah. And whatever the percentage is, if it's like 20% or something or 15% or whatever it was actually at. Yeah. I think it's more to try and like balance this out. I think the dictates are one thing that people had a problem with. That's how I looked at it. And it's when they stopped making sense. But it wasn't necessarily, it was businesses implementing this as well under the guidance of the government, and that's when it became a problem where it was like, listen, like you're keeping the gym open and people are running on the treadmill, lifting weights with no masks on. And you're getting harassed by the employees because you walked over the line slightly in the weight section to like where people walk with the mask on. I'm like, guys, does this make any sense? Like, but over time, it took time for people to come to terms with this and whatnot. So I'm going to try and read through the conversation here. Yeah. Let's see here. Very few people any real reasons wearing a mask. It's just touted by morons as a way to cry about my freedoms. Yeah, but you know, there was a genuine concern, right, too, man, with that, where I mean, we went through this in Canada with the whole trucker incident as well, where, and I mean, he really should have been held more accountable than he was, what Trudeau did there. But there was a serious concern in an incident like that there could have been freedoms lost. And to some degree, I mean, you look at what happened after 9/11 too, where you had the Patriot Act instituted, and it was very scary. So I understand why people were concerned with it, but I think that's the meme. It's like, it's trying to anticipate that. And I think people were thinking that declaration, or even the lockdowns in general, were the beginning of like the end of freedoms, and that there was this idea that there's going to be this new order that takes its place, and it's going to be a world without freedoms. And this was just a way for them to facilitate this. And it got really conspiratorial, right? So, yeah. So restaurants here where it made no sense other than gaslighting fear. Plenty of rational one-form people had concerns, not about the mask themselves, but overreaching consistency and hypocrisy from leaders. Dismissing them all as idiots doesn't make you look principled. It just looks like someone who needs to feel smarter. We're talking specifically about masks, kid. You're changing the subject, one on the internet. Well, we're just trying to, look how much animosity there still is around all this, right? And that's a good fucking, it's still a spicy thing. In my opinion, and I am still concerned about what actually happened there. Now, obviously, there were a lot of dictates handed down by the government. Not everything was done properly. I would say in Canada, especially, because that's where I was, and I know out in the world, the way they handled that was just unbelievably bad. And they were warned about some of the lockdowns. It was even more how long the lockdowns went on for was what was problematic. And they were warned multiple times by other people in business that this would lead to the destruction of certain sectors and businesses. And I literally witnessed that happen. So absolutely, the actions there were concerning, especially to me. And I lived through it. So, I mean, but I understand that the masking protocol, same with like hospitals, right? Like if you're an ER doctor and you're working on somebody, you've got an N95 mask on because it's going to prevent the chance that there's going to be any contamination or transmission that goes on with a vulnerable person whose immune system has just been destroyed because you've cut them open. But there's this top down, there's this concern now. And this is the thing with COVID that I try to talk about on here and with other people, that should have, I think it should have scared some people in the general public maybe more than it did. And I think there's a lot of people that are kind of more mechanically minded that are just dealing with the problem, but there's a deeper issue here afoot. And I think it does get back to what happened, right? And we should be asking as a people more questions as to what happened. Where did it come from? Was it just an accident? I don't know. I don't buy that it was actually, but I can't say that with complete conviction because there's no real strong evidence for it, other than there was some suspicious drills going on a couple months beforehand in October, to do with a coronavirus pandemic, and then one cropped up. So, unless they had known that this was circulating and they just did a mock setup before it had happened, which is a possibility. But anyway, yeah. Expanding the subject because we see people who are jogging or cycling while wearing a mask was the height of the sheer stupidity. Yeah, and I think that's man. It's people just where they wanted a safety net, right? And maybe they didn't understand that that wasn't really optimal. And in the gym too, for a while, the businesses were struggling. I remember Good Life Fitness, which is the fitness place I go to here in Canada. They they were letting people in, but you had to wear a mask at all times. And I was like, that's just fucking dangerous. Just, what are you going to do in that kind of situation, I guess? Just keep them shut down. But in the inner city, in Toronto and Ontario, they were shut. Oh my God. It was like a year and a half straight or something ridiculous. You just can't do that. But decimate. But then the alternative they thought was, well, you're just going to let this spread around. But by that point, it already had, right? So by that point, we already knew, although it was definitely a threat to the immunocompromised and the elderly, it wasn't as much of a threat to the general public. So, people who are immunocompromised and elderly are going to have to unfortunately segregate themselves out of those places. But allowing that it's a delicate dance that you had to do. And I just think some of the decisions they made with the masking, it didn't help the situation. It just created animosity and shit too. So talks a lot about sophist, and that's what we're seeing in real time from people who can't think critically about issues and take them at surface level. It's a distinct lack of deep thinking online. Sophistry too is using rhetoric too to win debates and without an intention or an aim at objective truths. And I think so long as the conversation remains civil, right? I mean, obviously people can meme. I don't think it's a problem, right? But it's if people are trying to intentionally be deceitful or use rhetoric to confuse people, or also do that and try to make money off of it and win. And it's all about going after the truth, what actually happened, right? And I think honestly, everybody tries to do that. A lot of people do, at least, but yeah. We stop using the term bad faith and start calling them names that mean the same, so they really understand that they're a different class of thinkers. Arguing bad faith is one thing, but continually doing so is another thing. The context of this pandemic with an airborne respiratory pandemic and various types of masks offer various types of protection. That's just a fact. It's even open for debate. It's even open for debate. Were some of the reactions the system put in place a bit stupid? Yes, they were, but people are imperfect, and large groups of people even more so. It doesn't change the mass work. Yeah, they can. I agree, Larkin. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They do. That's probably a good way of putting it, ultimately, yeah. Yeah. It's just trying to, next time, make sure that some of that stupidity doesn't happen again. Why did it happen the way that it did? I think that's definitely something that we could look into. And is there something more nefarious going on as well that we've missed with that? Specifically with the lockdowns, because again, in Canada, in New Zealand, and other countries affiliated with this WEF, I genuinely think the WEF is a very concerning organization. They had language before this had happened talking about climate lockdowns and how people may have to be locked down if the conditions worsen and whatnot. And it was very kind of similar framework that was instituted. And the World Health Organization too, which is not democratically elected official or body, what was just about almost put in charge of pandemic response in the future here, and we just narrowly missed that because they voted for it. Canada voted in favor of it, Trudeau did, and it just collapsed, thankfully, and the organization is collapsing. But that was equally as concerning, where it's like, well, but this organization is democratically elected. I mean, they shouldn't be awarded the power to manage pandemic response in countries, which is what they were looking for. I'm like, what is going on here? But this is obviously, well, it is another note, but at the same time, it's like, what actually is happening? But are we going to be able to get to it? All we can do is just try and think about it, I guess. So, yeah. Yeah, let's see here. Sheer mask cannot produce transmission, and no one's denying that, but the issue was never just do mass work. It was a dogmatic enforcement and consistent messaging, which is, I guess, part of the stupidity involved, and the social shaming that came with even questioning any part of it, acting like everyone who hesitated with anti-science or selfish completely ignores the messy reality of how trust, communication, and policy actually work in a crisis. Yes, that's another good way of putting it. Yeah, I think that's kind of elaborating it out, but that will be the stupidity. Yeah, I guess, right? And that's why it's important to have good communication, and we didn't. Yeah. People, I sort of think we'll probably have to let it go. Yeah, guys, for a bloodbath fucking ensues here. Yeah. Your kids won't be friends who disagree with them because their whole identity is wrapped up in their beliefs. God damn. Yeah, it's only the subs that matter on Twitch, brother. Fuck. Subs and donations, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of denial of mask, lowering transmission, and pseudoscience flying around. We had Joe Brogan calling anyone wearing a mask a pussy, for example. This is before he had special treatment when he did catch it. Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah, there's a lot of missteps. I made myself a mask design and got it printed on Redbubble. It was just hundreds of gray alien faces of different garishly bright colors. Oh, fuck yeah, man. I remember at the time, somebody made me a mask out of pajama pants. Used pajama pants. And I remember they're like, oh, here, we made these for you. I was like, whose pajama pants were these made out of? It's like, oh, just my husband Marty's. I was like, she made me fucking pajama pants, masks, out of this guy's used fucking crotch of his fucking pajama pants, probably. I was like, who in the fucking Christ? So obviously I just turned him into a fucking dishcloth. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, before a bloodbath ensues, there were a lot of fucking problems. But the question is there a conspiracy? That's the fun thing to think about. I would bet, considering theories that floated around, 20 plus years before it happened, it would be lovely if we properly investigated what had happened. But the problem is, nothing ever really gets done to the degree you want it to. And we never really get to the bottom of things. Actually, we've got this up here right now from Tucker, which is talking about 9/11, which is another fun fucking conversation, yeah. I didn't want it on my face, so it's used to clean stuff I eat off of. Wipe the floors, brother. Wipe the walls down with it. Wipe my toilet down with it. And then at the end of it, just wear it on my face and just give up, you know? And say, I'm just gonna breathe in your taint. Yeah. But this is another spicy one. This is a spicy one because I remember, oh my God, it's a long time ago now. I remember watching Alex Jones with a loudspeaker in Times Square yelling at the live coverage of the anniversary of 9/11. Oh my God, this is probably like 15 years ago or something. No, I think it was in 2011 because it was 10 years after. And I don't know, it was NBC or MSNBC or somebody had a fucking like memorial thing, and Alex was there with the fucking bullhorn, just screaming. I remember you probably find the clips online, and I think he got arrested actually about like the 9/11 truth shit. And Alex's whole modus operandi is to sell supplements. That's Alex's whole thing. I mean, as much as I meme on Alex and he's a funny guy, man, he's just all about that fucking money, for Christ's sake. Come on. Like, so he's, even now, I saw a post he fucking posted recently where I was like, he had this transformation photo where he went from before, which was overweight, to now where he looks pretty good, tanned, and looks like he hasn't slept in 3 weeks. Lost a bunch of weight very quickly, which actually isn't a very safe or healthy thing to do. But I mean, he wasn't to that degree. I think he needed to go and shed fucking like 60 pounds in 3 weeks. Like, that's fucking crazy shit. Like, anyway, but then of course I did this with the InfoWars supplements. I'm like, oh my fucking God, brother. CMOS is not going to fucking get a quality multivitamin, drink water, eat organic food. There you fucking go. Jesus Christ. Like, yeah. Yeah. But fuck. I watched about half the Tucker interview, some fascinating insights offered, but there was so much angry yelling by his guests, which I can understand why. It made it a bit difficult to take him watching. I haven't seen it. Is that the case? The guy used to be a congressman or some shit. But anyway, I don't know if we want to fucking get into watching it. I just wanted to pull it up because I know that it was trending on here. I intended to, but that's interesting then, yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. I think genuinely this is another. It's like we never get to the bottom of things, right? I don't think that's an accident. Whoever is in charge or puppeting what's been going on here in the last fucking however many years in the West. I mean, whoever they were, which is probably a conglomerate, like a cabal of people, I'm sure, just decided that this wasn't something that was ever going to be figured out or we're never get to the bottom of. And I think this similarly with COVID, the same thing has happened where there's been research into the gain of function trends that started in the US and were moved offshore to Wuhan, and who was responsible for this. And then now the problem with it is with the virus, I don't know if you could ever really go back to like intent. Like, how would you ever prove that someone intentionally released it? You can always, unless there were like documentation, but I mean, that good luck. This is a little bit different though, where you had a lot of very accredited people, and you still do, that have been calling for another investigation because they're not necessarily claiming like the Illuminati did it, but that there was more to it, that there was potentially explosives within the buildings as well. And that the report just didn't address this in any way, shape, or form. So again, it's revealing as to like what is the real world, what's actually going on, right? Like, and I think a lot of people, although some people might not be able to put it very eloquently, they have an intuition there's more going on here than meets the eye, and that what we're getting. And that's an unsettling thing to confront as well. That results in a lot of anxiety, and then you don't really ever get to the bottom of it. So you don't really ever have complete conviction in what's going on, although some people say that they do. So then it's just a constant anxiety. But I mean, at the very least, we have people pushing, and will we ever get to the bottom of this? I don't know. But it is one of those incidents I remember listening to. I forget what his name is. He's sometimes not the greatest communicator of Gage. He's one of the heads for this architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth or whatever. But there's some other gentlemen who came out years ago with this. I remember watching their testimony, just going over some of the inconsistencies and debating it, as you should, because ultimately, like, that's what you want to do. You want to have a bunch of experts with data, debate the data, and then if in the end of it, this doesn't make sense or it doesn't hold up, well, then you do a reinvestigation. And I had thought they were just about at that point, but then corruption, people not wanting to dig back into this, and similar to what happened with the whole flu thing, right? And some of the medicines employed there, which is another fucking shit show I don't even want to get into right now. But that is another hot and dark topic to get into, which is pertaining to corruption again, right? And people willing to sacrifice a lot of lies potentially just for a quick buck. Anyway, fun times. I'll try and go through some of the comments here. I read through those two guys. Yeah, I give the whole thing to ChatGPT boys. Yeah, mockery, dismissal, L-take, science. They were tools, or even the height of sheer stupidity. These are rhetorical tools meant to signal group alignment and shut down discussion. Not invited. We can all get emotional and use offensive language at times. Yeah. Yeah, it's important to try and be diplomatic. I know, listen, online, being anonymous online, sometimes you just feel, you're like, you know what? I think this guy's a fucking idiot. I'm just going to say he's a fucking idiot. I mean, everyone does this. I've done this, but I'm not necessarily anonymous. I'm using an alias here, but some people know who I actually fucking am. Yeah, I don't know. It's just trying to argue things in good faith. But then this is a hot topic. It's any of these hot topics. You could do fucking 9/11. You could do COVID. You could do what's going on right now with Israel and Palestine, like in Gaza. I mean, undoubtedly, at the end of the day, as much as we want to be just emotionless creatures, or in philosophy, you want to approach things critically, you want to be a critical thinker, look at things objectively without emotion, right? But the reality is that we're emotional beings, and sometimes these things people get very emotional about, because some of these topics are very important. They've affected people directly, and then that comes out in just anger and hate, and then that's what we have to kind of temper and be careful with. And I think that's why philosophy as a discipline is important, because it does encourage that. And you have to recognize, again, though, within reason, that people are emotional creatures, but as much as possible to look at things objectively and debate things objectively without name calling and whatnot, because it just doesn't help. It doesn't help the discussion, because I think most, and this is the thing, you have to understand, like, who you're talking to sometimes, like, are people after those objective truths? Or are they just after their truth? Because the objective truth sometimes isn't what you thought was true, right? And you have to recognize that potentially you could be wrong, or a part of your take could be wrong, or and that's what's uncomfortable about it, is that you're going to approach things with a little less conviction in some way, where you're like, well, I could be wrong here, unless it's like very hard data, and then you're going to be convicted in it. But with some of the stuff, it's like, it's thank you, Will. It's interesting. You just feed the whole fucking thing in AI. We should get an AI bot just reading the chat at all times, and it'll just call people out for, logical fallacies and whatnot. And wouldn't that be fun? Just get fucking checked by the AI every 5 seconds. I regularly, if I can say the word, actually, is why I use AI now. I don't have to fucking spell or even pronounce things anymore. I regularly feed all of my opinions or anything, theories, into ChatGPT. And it's not flawless. It has a hard time sometimes with even basic logic and reasoning, but it's fairly good. And the new iteration that I've been using with ChatGPT 4.0 is actually pretty decent. And at the very least, it just gives you kind of an objective view of like, because it's hard, because you're like, well, like, am I off base here? But you have to know to ask that question. You have to know to even do that. There's some people that are resistant to this, and they reference hallucinations, and it does hallucinate when you get really complicated. But just basic conversation, it'll just give you another side of the coin sometimes, and that can be very helpful. At least my intention is to be a better person and to get the objective truths. I'm not interested in my truth. I'm interested in the truth on things, which is why we do want to rely on science as much as we possibly can, right? And be grounded with data. But it's complicated, where sometimes the data is misused, and sometimes there are authority figures, and there are people that are using the data not for the good but for the bad, and they're manipulating it. And look at the whole climate gate scenario, right? With climate change. And again, you get extremes where there are people who just think that they can just drive their fucking F-350 fucking diesel jacked up, like they don't give a fuck at all about anything. And it's like, okay, well, that's not what people are saying. It's more that sometimes it's the data can be abused and manipulated to kind of fit to these people's different ideologies, and not even the objective truths. But anyway, yeah. To be fair, we both met mostly in the middle near the end. Yes, it's true. Yeah, ChatGPT is being a gobshite. I think that's the thing. I think it's another thing too on the internet that like I don't like, where people can't like disagree. And it's obviously if you start slinging around fucking like straight up hate, and like that's one thing, but like people can kind of, and like within the meme, right? Like if you call somebody like a dickhead or something, it's people sometimes get too sensitive too, and they take it too personally, and like sometimes people are just kind of fucking around, and at the end of the day, there's no like hate, it's just people are just fucking around. So I just don't understand. And that's the other thing too, I see, not that I go on Twitch a lot, I just fucking stream on here usually, but I've seen some of these different like groups or these different streams where people aren't even, and obviously when you have a huge Twitch chat, that's different, because if things are going so quickly and there's a bunch of like usual kids in there, usually who become really problematic. But there's no people aren't really able to kind of like flesh ideas out, or they just get instantly banned by the streamer or the moderation team without allowing people to kind of settle things. And I don't like that. I hate that. But anyway, yeah. I try not to be toxic, I guess. And obviously I think everyone here is I think we're all adults, so is the other thing. Like some of these other communities, if you grow to a certain level, you're going to bring in people who are, it's almost exclusively, I think, younger, usually. And then they just kind of misbehave to a point where you have to fucking remove them. They start throwing around, like some slang that can get the streamer banned, and then you're like, fuck, yeah. But when enough arguments, my truth becomes the truth. That's true, brother, yeah. You just got to take enough people down. Isn't that it? Isn't that how religion worked back in the day? If you just destroy every other belief system, yours is obviously the best. That's not fun. This is the other thing, like, you know, our brains. It's like our brains have been bred on just violence, and it's just trying to deprogram that. And like, holy fuck, like, just wait till someone cuts you off, right? After you've like maybe dropped your coffee that day and forgot your lunch, and then violence will ensue. Hate will happen. That's all it fucking takes. Yeah. I have some thicker skin in my basement, or everyone gets offended by my takes. You should try and put it on the barbecue, brother. Do some fucking skin is great. We just had a bunch of chicken skin the other night. Like my partner, she's just craving chicken skin. And I said, well, cook a bunch of skin. Jim's Twitch chat isn't huge, but something else he has, if you know what I'm saying. Oh my heavens. Oh, good Lord. Just try and make up for it with fucking reason, and I'm just emotionally so numb. That's the other problem too. I'm just so fucking jaded at this point. There's just literally nothing left. Like, yeah, chicken skin done right is tits. It's like bacon. It's like chicken bacon. That's literally what it is though, because it's fatty and it smells so fucking good and whatnot. Anyway, enough about real problems in the world. Well, actually, this is a real problem actually, which is why I fucking talk about it all the time. Yeah, pig jaw is great too. That one sounds interesting, Bones. Pig feet is one thing I'm not fucking eating. People try to recommend pig feet before. Yeah. Roast pork is, oh yeah, pig skin is the best. Which is funny because people said that when people get burned alive, they smell, I've heard that from someone who's a firefighter, that somebody got left in the house, unfortunately, and it smelled like barbecue. It smelled like roast pork. It smelled like pork cooking. Which is fuck. The old long pig. Fuck. Fucking Christ. Yeah, the chicken skin is actually part of their tits. It's on the breast, isn't it? Yeah. It's dark, isn't it? That's why the aliens don't want to talk to us here. Finn, maybe you're still away, but Finn released a new interview here. I kind of want to watch a little bit of it. You know, just do what streamers do and just content leech, right? So it's all bad. So yeah. Right now, Hendrix, I was gonna play through it, but this is the thing that interests me the most. Ancient Aliens. Giorgio and David's voice. David Childress naked in Lake Titicaca, and UFO phenomena, man. And these experiences, and genuinely, one of the things that fascinates me the most about this, right? Like, because data's obviously important. I'm not a scientist, right? Philosopher. And I'm interested as well in the psychological phenomena and around within the broader UFO phenomena, because I do genuinely think people are seeing and experiencing things. I do not think it's all just hallucinations, because I saw something recently. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's alien, but I think it's really fascinating. And I think documenting this stuff is just really great. And just listening to people talk about these experiences, and also have Finn do his brilliant animations and reimaginings of these encounters, because it makes it more real. Like, that's the only way I could describe it, where it's so hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like, you need to properly experience it. It needs to be recreated to some degree. And I think that helps people take it more seriously. And then you can listen to somebody and you can hear in their voice, like, this is a human part of ourselves, because we are human and we're not just having we're people here having having a human experience. Maybe we're fucking aliens having a human experience. I don't know, but we are humans. And I think it's important to listen to these experiences and sit around a digital hearth like we are now, like we did in times past, around a campfire maybe, and tell stories, right? Like the village elder talking about how he saw this strange, ball of fire come down to the ground, and these strange beings came out. And, we're doing this now on the internet. So, yeah, I'll start it here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, because obviously you can watch this on Finn's channel, but I wanted to go through the intro and just hear from this gentleman and his experience, and kind of go through the incident and whatnot. And anyway, I'll shut up and I'll mute the music and just let this fucking go. If I can find the button, there we go. I will link it after, but yeah. He'll come back. Fuck yeah. Nice. Nice. Oh my, oh my. That was a dirty one. It was LaForge. Fuck. There's a muscular man on the wall. Oh my heavens. The hell? Nice.
Okay, so
Holy shit. So before we get into
the
this,
next episode.
so what happened? So this orb appeared, and then as soon as he turned his camera on, holy
Okay,
fuck.
so
Oh
welcome
my
to the
God,
next
man.
episode. I've been
It
working
literally
the
blanks
last
out the
few
same exact
weeks
moment you
with
press
a good
record.
friend of mine, Charles. It's Charles Lamoureux from Vancouver in Canada. Is that right? Are you still in Vancouver,
You
Charles?
got it. Vancouver, British Columbia, yeah, on the west coast of Canada.
Great. And Charles, I've known Charles for several years now. It must have been 2012, 2013 we first started talking on Facebook, wasn't it?
That's about right. Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I knew about. I knew that Charles was an avid sky watcher. He's done a lot of filming, so he's got a lot of experience with different cameras, and he knows about misidentifications because he's really taught himself the ins and the outs of UFO video analysis. And So I was talking to Charles, and it was a few years ago, before I started doing these animations, that I did my first kind of 3D CGI reconstruction of a UFO sighting, and that was of your blue orb sighting, wasn't it? And
That's right.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'll flash up that image when I get around to editing this, and I'll show that image I made in Blender. That was
yeah.
before I learned to animate, and then I learned to animate,
Yeah.
did a bunch of animations, and then I thought.
So it's pretty long interview, so you might not want to stream it all. He goes into more detail with the sighting. I animated some other things he's had. We briefly analyzed some UFO vids he's filmed. Interesting. So does he have, he has videos, he has a video of that orb over the balcony? Interesting. So he's seen these on multiple occasions then. Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome, man. I wanted to like go through it again and just like, I mean, I can go back through and listen to the actual interview itself, but like, so this is just like, so this is, where is it? Right here, just a second. Here we go. Right here. Holy fuck. Man. He didn't manage to film either of the orbs animated, but he's not doing a lot of sky watching and filming UFO videos around the time in his life. There are chapters marked on YouTube vid, a description if you wanted to jump around. Yeah, fuck, okay, man. Awesome. Just give me 1 second, guys. I'm just being summoned here off screen. Just give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back.